Good people. Welcome to another episode of Investors Playbook Live as I adjust my camera. As always, you have your co-host Deshaun and Cornell, and we are coming to talk about a very important topic today. Another year has passed, and with 2026 right around the corner, we need to talk about the importance of retirement. Not just retirement, but finances in general, and making sure that you're planning appropriately and accordingly when it comes to your financial plans, your financial goals. One thing that they always, well, not always, one thing that they typically do is increase the amount of money that you can put into your retirement account. And that is exactly what's happening in 2026. There are going to be new rules for retirement, not just your IRA, not just your 401k, but for most retirement accounts, right? So if you have a 401k, if you have an IRA, this is the episode that you want to tune into because there are going to be new rules that allow you to put more money into your retirement, which ultimately will allow you to invest more into your future. So let's dive into that. Cornell, let's first talk about the current retirement rates, what people can actually put into their retirement account, and kind of just talk about how that's going to change for 2026.
All right, so we'll start with the 401k, 403b, and 457. Those are the retirement accounts that people are most, familiar with. A lot of employers kind of force you into it, or employers might have this available to you. And if this is available to you and your company has a match and you have not been putting into this is something that you want to go ahead and start doing because you're missing out on free money. So with the 401k, 403b, and 457, uh, last year, 2020, well, this year, 2025, the limit was 23,500. Next year, the limit will be 24,500. So it is up $1,000 what you can contribute.
Right.
When it, yeah, so when it comes to the IRAs, these are the ones that everybody talks about, but not everybody has. These are so important because you can't really depend on just your employer retirement. Okay. So with this, you have your Roth IRA and your traditional IRA. Last year, we were able to contribute $7,000. But this year, my bad. When I say last year, I'm talking about 2025. My
25.
apologies.
Yeah.
2026, we are able to put in $7,500. So it's up $500 from last year. And if you are 50 years or older, of course, you can contribute more, um, which is $1,000, $1,100 more. So you can contribute $8,600.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as y'all can see, man, it's a lot changing in regards to the amount you can contribute. And that's how they typically um, do these increases, right? With the 401k, is normally $1,000 every time they decide to do an increase. And with the IRAs, I said 401k, 403b, um, the company style of retirement plans. It's normally about $1,000 increase each time they decide to increase it. And with the IRAs, both Roth and traditional, it's about a $500 increase. What does this actually mean, though? To pretty much now you're able to contribute more money into your retirement account, which allows you to do more investing. That's an additional $500 that you can let compound year after year. So the message here is if you have the available funds, if you have the means to do it, you are now able to put an additional $500 into your IRA retirement account and an additional 1,000 into your 401k. We know how compound interest works. We've talked about it a lot on this channel. We understand the importance of planting these seeds now so that they can grow into something that will flourish in the future. So, we definitely want to take advantage of the fact that we are now able to put more money into a retirement account. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about some individuals who, they ask, what's the difference between a Roth and a traditional? And there's 401k Roth, there's 403b Roth, there's 401k traditional, or just 401k, and there's 403b traditional. There's also Roth IRA and Roth traditional. Some individuals tend to ask what the difference is between a Roth retirement account and a traditional retirement account. All right. Roth is the newer version of a retirement account, but both has their advantages. But we wanted to just kind of talk a little bit about the difference between a Roth and a traditional, so you can use that information to go do your own research, understand your situation, and figure out what slice of retirement is best for you. Um, so, Cornell, did you want to kind of dive into the key difference between a Roth and a traditional retirement account?
All right, so with a Roth, you're putting after tax dollars in. Okay. So this money has already been taxed, and the tax benefit is whatever you make come retirement age, you get the full thing. You don't have to pay taxes. So say you've been saving up in your Roth and you've been investing in it. Uh Say you get to 59 and a half and you're ready to take the money out and you've made $1 million. That complete $1 million is yours. On the contrary, you have the traditional IRA. You're putting before tax dollars in. So this is where the benefit comes in. But when it's time to withdraw at 59 and a half or make disbursements, you are going to be taxed on that money. So you have a lot of money on the front end because it's pre-tax dollars. You have it has not been taxed, so of course it's going to be more money. But on the back end, there if you make $1 million and you take that $1 million out, they're going to tax you at your tax rate. Yep.
Exactly. Exactly. And of course there are that's the main difference, right? The main difference is paying the taxes now, paying the taxes later. That is a big difference between the Roth and traditional. And of course there are other small differences as well, like with traditional, you get tax benefits for that specific year, right? You can write off some of the contributions that you put towards your retirement account. With the Roth, because you're paying the taxes, you don't get to write those off, right? You do not get to write off of those contributions. So that also comes into planning, right? Like, what do I do for this specific year? Also, you aren't stuck with one. You don't have to do traditional and Roth the entire time. If there is a year where you need to write off more, then think about how a traditional could help offset some of your taxes. And if you want to continue to build for your, retirement, your tax, I say tax free, but you're paying the taxes early. But when you retire, you don't have to pay those taxes. And if that's your goal, then Roth is the way to go. Of course, when it comes to a 401k, 403b, you're going to be paying more into your retirement account because you're paying the amount that goes into your retirement plus the taxes right now. So it's going to look like you're putting or paying more money. But again, what you're doing is planting a a seed that has already been watered. Like you're planting a prepackaged seed. So when it grows, you don't have to do any other work, essentially. So yeah, some of the main differences between a Roth and a traditional are the tax implications, right? And there isn't necessarily a better or worse. Of course, you have to figure out your specific situation, and then make the decision based off of that. We kind of steer towards Roth. That's what we um that's what we both put our money in, a Roth IRA. There's also something called a backdoor Roth. So diving into more of the specifics of a retirement account, more so a individual retirement account or an IRA. If you make a certain amount of money, I believe the amount is 155,000, then you are not able to contribute to a Roth IRA unless you do what they call a backdoor method, which is essentially contributing to a traditional IRA and then transferring that money over to a Roth and paying the taxes once you do the transfer. It's not as complicated as it seems. It's actually very simple, but there are those types of rules that you have to think about once you do start to become a higher income earner. So, yeah,
I wanted to go back and touch on the Roth versus traditional because I know that you were saying that people would need different things. I just want to kind of elaborate on that.
go
When
for
it
it.
comes, yeah, so you want to think about when you're being taxed when you're deciding whether you want a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA. So with the Roth being after tax dollars, you're paying your taxes now, right? Remember, you want to pay taxes when your tax bracket is the lowest. So, do you think that you're going to be making more money now or in the future? So with me, it is my opinion that I'm going to be making more in retirement. So I rather pay those taxes now, so that when I get into retirement, I am not paying as much in taxes. Well, I'm not paying any taxes on that. Whereas traditional, if you feel like you're making the bulk of your money now, you're a high earner, and when you retire, you're going to take a pay cut. That's when you'll go into traditional, okay? Because you're paying your taxes later when you're in that lower tax bracket.
Hmm. Yeah, that's precisely it, man. And that's some of the things that you got to think about, right? History has let us know that things are getting more and more expensive. Okay. You are more than likely, well, hopefully, you will more than likely be making more money in the future than you are now, which will put you in a higher tax bracket automatically. And what we're seeing is the tax brackets are changing very rapidly. We don't know what that's going to look like in 20 years, 30 years. So why not pay taxes on what we're familiar with now so that when that time does come, we don't even have to think about what tax bracket we're in.
Yeah, and it has to deal with like if you're investing, because if you're just working a job, most likely your income's not going to be more in your retirement. The fact that we'll be drawing on more investments and stuff like that, that's kind of what I'm factoring in. Because most people, if they're just working their 9 to 5, they putting in like 10 to 15%, and they're calling it a day and doing no other investing. You're probably not going to have more.
But I mean, even those who are working a 9 to 5, they, I imagine that promotions can affect their income. Well, that if you're just working a 9 to 5, I imagine promotions would affect your income. Like me, like say I didn't do any investing and I just worked. The
Mhm.
amount of money I started with, which was less than 100K, to what I make now over the course of 8 years is substantial. And that's just me working the 9 to 5. You know what I mean?
But none of that matters when you're retired.
Oh, so you're talking like when you're the
When
amount of money
when
you draw from when you're retired doesn't have to do with the amount that you have inside of your retirement account, like how much you choose to withdraw.
Yeah, but my thing is, you're not going to have enough to withdraw more than what your income was if you were only doing the bare minimum with your 9 to 5. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
If
get what you're
if
saying.
you're doing more investing and you build a bigger nest egg, then you have those bigger withdrawals from your 401k or your IRA, because you've been putting so much in there and it's
Yeah,
growing to this big amount.
right. And that's another thing too. You have to decide on what type of lifestyle you want to have because some people might retire and their income drops drastically because they want to live a simple life. They don't want to take a bunch of money out. They don't need as much money as they did, or not as much, but they don't need to. They either can be at the same exact amount or they don't need to take out more. So yeah, a lot of factors go into what you do after you retire, but mainly it's your decision, right? Because when you retire, it's not, I mean, not everybody has a pension where they're getting paid a specific amount every month or every year. Some people have to choose how much money they take out of their retirement accounts, right? And that is going to be their income. You decide on how much you are going to withdraw every month, what you're going to live off of. So, and you can kind of decide where you want your tax bracket to be, right? Even if you have investments, if there is a year that you don't want to sell or you don't want to withdraw as much, you can have a low income year. So, yeah, it's a lot that you could do to play around with that. But you're right, Cornell. If you are just working that 9 to 5, you don't have as much room to even kind of make those choices. You just kind of got to live with what will last, right? You have to take out enough money to where the money in your retirement does not deplete before you know, before you move
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got to make it last. And if you have just enough to take like I don't know 60,000 out a year, and that's it.
It's
Yeah,
rough.
That's a situation you don't want to be in, but that's why we promote investing so much, right? Not just 9 to 5 working. Go ahead.
Because that's when things happen. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like what happens when you need a new roof and you gotta pay $10,000 to put a new roof on your house. Where does that come
yeah,
from? It's gonna come from
right.
your retirement. And that's not something that you probably have factored in, or your water heater goes out, or your HVAC goes out. And this is why we stress so much. You got to think about retirement now. Like
Exactly.
even right now, when you when you're when you're young, and I'm not saying that everybody that's watching this is young, but in your 20s is ideal when you want to start. Uh, but if you're in your 30s, you're late. You're late to the party. It's time. It's time.
Yeah.
You need to go to your employer right now, see what they offer as a match, and start putting in. Because the last thing you want to do is get to the age of 59 and a half or 65, and you're like, man, what do I need to do to retire?
Hmm.
You got to plan for this. It's retirement planning. You can't just arrive and be like, okay, I'm ready.
Yeah.
You want
Yeah.
prepared.
Yeah. And it's crazy thinking back. Like I remember a year ago from Thanksgiving last year, I was having a conversation with my sister, and this exact conversation came up. I was wondering why. Well, first we just started talking about retirement for some reason. I forgot exactly why, but I learned that she had not been contributing to her retirement account that her job matches with her. So I need to call her after this conversation after we finish and see what has happened in a year. How much have you contributed? How much has it grown? Because it was a beautiful year for the stock market. Like from November 24 to November 25, that was pretty epic. So I'm excited to have this conversation. And it's little things like that, right? Like that's why it's important to have conversations with your family, with your cousin, with your auntie, with your mama, with your grandma, anyone, doesn't matter. Because not everybody is privy to this information. Some people just are kind of living the same type of, or they're living with the same knowledge that they've had for so many years. They don't really know change, or they're not on social media and they're not seeing, people like Investors Playbook talk about retirement accounts. So it's good to have these conversations with people because you just never know what someone's not doing, and they probably don't know what they're not doing, right? Um, so yeah, man, I think it's very important to just have these conversations. And I know you said talk to your employer, start and open an IRA. Open an
Appreciate it.
IRA. It is free to open an IRA. Just go to Fidelity, open an IRA, and start. You you can still contribute to 2025. But if you want to kickstart,
Till
some people
April.
have those New Year's resolutions and stuff. Yeah, you have until April of 2026 to contribute to 2025. So if you want to contribute to 2025 and then start contributing to 2026, like May of next year, that's perfect too.
I think that's the
So,
perfect way to do it. Because my thing is, you don't want to contribute to 2026. You end up maxing it out, but then you have no time to contribute to. So you want to go ahead and knock out 2025 as much as you can, especially if you think you can max it, and then start waiting on 20, and then start hitting 2026. Because remember, there's a limit to what you can put in this, and the fact that there's a limit should show you how important this is.
yep,
These are
exactly.
tax benefits. These are tax benefits. And my thing is,
Hmm.
you need money to retire. As Sean said,
Yeah,
most people don't have a pension. And even with pensions, you still need something extra. Because I have a pension and I have to work 30 years to get 60% of my check. Who can take a
yeah,
40% pay cut?
mm-mm, yeah.
Like
Not.
yeah,
It's
like
not. It's not. It's not.
e-
Mm-mm.
even for somebody that is not a subject to lifestyle creep. 40%? Cut your lifestyle in half? Who can do that?
Yeah, yeah. That's a lot. That's why you got to prepare outside of what they offer. Because sure, they will they will assist. A lot of jobs will assist. That's what 401ks are for. That's what pensions are for. But if you don't assist yourself, you're gonna be sitting in a a situation that you probably don't want to be in, or like you can choose to be in a better situation now, right? By starting to do things like even if it's 100, 200 a month. Let's break it down, right? Let's just say January 2026 starts. How much do you need to put in a month if you want to max out your 2026 IRA? And I'll give you two different numbers. I'll give you the one if you want to max it out by the end of the year. And then I'll give you the number if you want to actually have that extra time and have until April of 2024. I mean, of 2027. $625 is how much you will need to put into your Roth traditional IRA if you want to max it out. That's 625 times 12, $7,500. 625 a month. If you want to break it down even further, that is, I mean, most people get paid twice a month, right?
I don't know
Mm.
that. So
Most people.
yeah.
Most people. I feel like most people get a paycheck at least twice a month. I know some people get paid once a month. Some people get paid once a week, right? 625 is the number for the month. You can break that down, divided by four, divided by two, whatever number you need. But for the typical person who gets paid first and 15th every 2 weeks, $312.50, right? Uh, What we're saying is it's not the most difficult thing. Of course, everybody's financial situation is different. If there is $312 that you don't have in discretionary funds and everything goes to something, understood. Maybe that's something that you can't do until you handle some of the other expenses. But if you have the means to do it, then put your future self in a better situation by planting these seeds now. We're talking $312.50 a paycheck. All right. So yeah, new rules for 2026. Retirement is not something that is a very sexy topic, but it is very important. And a lot of people end up missing their chance to put money into retirement until it's too late when they're at 55, 59 and a half, 60 years old. Um, and they're struggling. So for the people who are in their 20s, who are in their 30s, who still have 30 years roughly of before retirement age, now's the time to do it. So yeah, man.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Solid.
Oh yeah, we solid, man. Make sure y'all go ahead and get started, especially if you haven't started. It makes a difference. And I know some people had a motto, tomorrow isn't promised, but you don't want to get to tomorrow and you looking at everybody else doing what they're supposed to be doing. And
Right.
they live in their lives, they retired and they're able to rest their aching bones at 70 years old, and you still gotta punch a clock. So don't be that person.
Man. I can't even imagine, bro. But but all right, man. Look, hope y'all learned something today. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Appreciate y'all for listening. We're gonna catch y'all on the next one.
Peace.
Peace.